Welcome to the Week 4 lecture. This is Dr. Rebecca Wood, your instructor. This week's lecture is about organization, or a logical progression of ideas from beginning to end. When we first receive a writing assignment, we should analyze it. What is expected? How large is the project? Is it a short paragraph, which will not take a lot of time, or a substantial research paper, which will obviously take a longer amount of time? Choose a topic that you find interesting. Even if you don't pick the topic, find a way to make it interesting to yourself and your audience. And what is your main idea? What are you trying to tell your audience? What is your point? So start up with the assignment, and what do you already know about the topic? You can use what you already know as a foundation for the rest of your project. If you have a great deal of knowledge of a topic before you do research, make sure you tell your audience that in the introduction. For example, if you are writing about the medical field and you're already a registered nurse, please mention that early in the introduction of the paper, because that will affect the way that you write about the topic and how much you need to document. If you need help understanding the writing assignment or choosing a topic, you can ask your instructor. It could also be helpful to talk your assignment over with someone you trust, such as a friend, family member, classmate, or coworker. So preliminary research can be a very useful step. If we don't know much about the topic, then we can do some research, possibly at the SLU library, either in person or through this Pius Library SLU search page, and looks up some information about the topic. And if you are looking at the PowerPoint version of our lecture, you can click on the links and they will take you to the pages. Another way to do preliminary research would be to use an internet search engine such as google.com. However, be careful that your sources are providing accurate, unbiased information, because anyone can basically put anything on the internet. So a website for a legitimate publication such as the New York Times would be considered credible, while a personal web page might be less credible. Sites that end in .edu and .gov are usually credible. So once we've chosen our topic, we need to figure out where to begin. Please do not skip the pre-writing process. The first things we should do are some brainstorming and listing of ideas, and then clustering or organizing our ideas, and then a preliminary outline. Write your draft thesis statement, because your introduction will probably be rewritten near the end of your writing process. And the thesis statement will be the main point of your paper. And then also write a draft concluding sentence. So you write your introduction and your conclusion, at least the very bare bones of them, first off before you start organizing the rest of your ideas. So how are you planning to end your paper? The thesis statement is the heart of your paper. You need to know what the main point is that you are trying to get across to your audience. The thesis statement may change a bit as you write, but don't lose sight of the primary message, otherwise your paper might get off track or disorganized. If you don't know what you're trying to say, the audience will not either. And for more information about thesis statements, you can click on this link in the PowerPoint version of the lecture. How does the paper end? And it may seem a little strange to think about the conclusion of your paper before we think about the middle. However, how are we going to get to that conclusion if we don't know where it's going to be? So, have you planned a satisfying end to the paper? Maybe save something really good from your research to put at the end of the paper? Can you repeat the ideas of your thesis statement without using the exact same words? So a skilled writer or speaker finds a way to circle back around to the thesis to reinforce it in the minds of the audience. You want to remind them at the end of the paper what your point is and why they should possibly change their mind to your viewpoint. So here's some options for organizing a paper. You could write in chronological order. This works very well for history papers. The events should all be discussed in chronological order, meaning order in which they happened. Normally you would write in chronological order a history paper, like I said, and you would write it in past tense for events that happened in the past. So you don't want to act like President Lincoln is still alive, which he unfortunately is not, by using the present tense. So if you're writing your paper in chronological order, you would not talk about President Lincoln working as a country lawyer after he was president. Cause and effect. If you're writing a problem solution paper, you would first describe the problem. Then you would write about the causes and effects of the problem. Then you could write about one or more possible solutions to that problem near the conclusion or in the conclusion of the paper. So organizing by subtopics, that's another way to organize your ideas for a paper. So these subtopics could also be called reasons or results. For example, if we were writing about global warming, we might have subtopics like extreme weather, coastal flooding, and animal extinctions. This is a brief outline of how a paper could go if I'm writing about global warming. Introduction. I have a very simplified thesis statement here, which is fine, especially for the beginning stages of my writing. We need to fix the problem before it is too late. Subtopic 1. Definition and major causes of global warming. Subtopic 2. Extreme weather, with some dramatic examples. Subtopic 3. Coastal flooding. Again, we could have some examples from our research that could help make that more dramatic and concrete to the audience. Subtopic 4. Potential animal extinction, such as the polar bear. And conclusion, we really need to stop and reverse global warming, which is essentially restating our thesis, but in different words. And so think of your outline as a road map or a Google Maps screen showing a highlighted route between your introduction and conclusion. How can you lead your readers from the first mention of your thesis statement to your concluding sentence? Make sure that the events in your paper move through time in a logical manner. Put yourself in your reader's place as you revise the paper. How can you make it make more sense? How can you make it easier for the reader to transition from one paragraph to the next? Are there any sections of the paper that do not fit where they are? Is there any information in the middle of the paper, for example, that would fit better at the beginning? And then you can move that information, especially now that we have our lovely word processing programs. The Purdue OWL can help with outlines. You can go visit the Purdue OWL. This is a link to a section that the Purdue OWL has about outlines. There's some more information around there too, besides this one article on the Purdue OWL. And what if we get stuck trying to organize our ideas? We could brainstorm again, re-outline. It can be helpful to outline your paper after you've already started writing it, just to make sure your ideas are still in a logical order. Talk to someone else about your project. Collaboration can be very effective and even fun. So get assistance from your course instructor, a classmate or colleague, or perhaps from a research librarian at the SLU Library. The SLU SPS Research Guide can be found at this link on the SLU Library web pages. I hope you all have a great week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.